Do you ever find yourself guilty of overthinking? Well, today's tips may surprise you. And welcome to another Momentum Monday with me, Emily McHugh, your Supercharged coach. And welcome to Supercharged with Emily. And the goal today is to stop overthinking, realizing that less is always more, as in always, without fail, as in without fail. So I want you to look at Momentum Monday as a reminder of things that you know, things that are obvious, but things that we sometimes just don't do because either we forget or we get caught up with other things, other ideas. So consider this your reminder, your weekly reminder to just keep you supercharged and to keep you clear thinking, okay? Not overthinking, but clear thinking. But just want to remind you before we dive right into our topic today that you need to subscribe to the channel, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Instagram, do all these great things, and follow Supercharged Coach on YouTube so you don't miss any episodes of Momentum Monday. Okay, now that you have done that, back to our topic of overthinking. Stop overthinking. One of the things that I find a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with is that we tend to have sometimes we're faced with a lot of opportunities. And you might say that's a good thing. Who wouldn't want to have a lot of opportunities that you have at your disposal? Isn't that great? Isn't that what we all want? Well, yes, we do, but sometimes when we overthink to the point where we can no longer discern what is a good opportunity from a bad one, that is when we can run into some serious difficulty and really not do ourselves any service, okay? And really kind of fall into the trap of not knowing how to discern. And that's always a less than ideal scenario. So, I like to share with you some of the books that I'm reading and things that I'm doing. And last week I shared some of the books that I'm reading. And today I want to start off by sharing another one. This book I bought like maybe a whole 2 years ago now, maybe a good while. And I've had it on my shelf. I'm like, I have to pick up my book and read it. And this book here, as you can see, Nelson Mandela's autobiography called The Long Walk to Freedom. This is a fascinating book. It's a big one. It's another big one, over 500, 600 odd pages up in here. But we're not deterred by the size of the book. It's by the depth of knowledge that we're going to glean from it. And so far in this book, what I'm gaining is the layers of history, layers upon layers that reflect and result in the history that we have today. And what does that have to do with the topic of overthinking? Well, when you're dealing with history, the goal is to gain clarity and to understand context. And when you have clarity and context, it allows you to narrow things down to their essence, to their essential core. And when you're able to do that, you minimize overthinking. Overthinking is thinking about all the options that you have. Should I do it this way? Should I do it that way? What if that happens? What if this happens? What if I go here and what if I go there? And that it becomes a chaotic state of not being able to parse through information. So the first thing, one of the reasons why I enjoy reading books like this is how a lot of information is organized. And so far in this book, it distills from when Nelson Mandela was born, his noble heritage from a noble a tribe in Africa, a kingdom actually, not just a mere tribe, but a kingdom and the different nation concepts and kingdoms that were in these countries before colonization, and what that actually meant to the people's psyche and how they were raised and how they were thought of themselves and how they saw others and how they were taught to think of each other. So, very fascinating. And for me, when I read books like this, I like to connect the dots, and I'm always relating things back to entrepreneurship, one which way or another, because at the end of the day, everything is connected to entrepreneurship, at least from where, in my humble opinion. So, one of the keys is, how do we minimize this trend rather, to want to overthink? And one of the key reasons people tend to overthink is we don't want to make a mistake. We want to select the best option, the best choice. So we look at everything ad infinitum, to the point where we no longer have a criteria. So it's important to have those criteria in place so that you know what they are and can minimize distractions. So, not wanting to make a mistake, then getting distracted by options as well, like keep adding more options in. And then also, thirdly, not having a clear criteria, a clear path of action of what you're really looking for in order to dis, parse out what is not really necessary and what is not really useful for you at the moment. And also being willing to take the risk that you might make a mistake. And if you do, well, you learn and you go on from there. So the point is to keep that momentum, keep the movement going forward, and not just halting at every step just because you're afraid of the risk of a mistake. So that is so essential to keep in mind. So I'm going to share with you this week's Supercharged thought that I put out on the Supercharged weekly newsletter, that if you're not getting, I'm going to encourage you to subscribe for. So let me share that with you a moment so that you can see, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about on this topic here. So this was the newsletter that went out this week. And last week, the topic of our video was quiet time. So you will see a little bit about that. I referred to that video that we did. And if you want to know how to subscribe to the newsletter, I invite you to go to emilymchugh.com/free gift, and you'll be able to get on our newsletter. So here I talk about supercharged thought, and each week I have a supercharged thought. And this week, the quote was from Sun Tzu, the Chinese philosopher, that says, "Opportunities increase as they are taken." Let me repeat. Opportunities increase as they are taken. And so if you're sitting there pondering whether this is the right opportunity, not the right opportunity, sometimes you may pass on an opportunity and then you may potentially get less. So what I have here is, if an opportunity comes your way that meets your criteria for an opportunity, so see, I'm qualifying it, it might be a good idea to take it. If we systematically let opportunities go by, we may get less of them. This is not quite the same as saying no when you need to say no. This is more about being able to discern when it is very much the time to say yes and not overthink the opportunity. All right, so if it meets certain key criteria, again, you know what your criteria are, you know what your goals are, what the direction you're trying to go towards, then you're able to make decisions faster, because you have that clarity that you need to process your thoughts. And so you're able to identify opportunities pretty quickly and run with them when they come up, okay? And with that point, I encourage you to ponder and think about it. Okay, think about that for a moment. The goal is to be able to know which opportunities to take. So when you stop overthinking, less is more, makes it clearer to you that if you reduce some of your options, you'll be able to make choices faster because your criteria are clear. Can I get an amen on that? Yes. Yes. Okay, so again, I invite you, when you sign up for the newsletter, you get links to my videos, links to comments I have on Instagram and upcoming events as well. And all of these things are to help you make better decisions. The book I mentioned last week that I'm also reading, Essentialism by Greg McHugh, that book is all about getting to the core of what's most important. And that also speaks to our topic today about stop overthinking. Know what's important to you. And when you know what's important to you, you don't waste time thinking about things that are not. I mean, that's really the bottom line. So that brings us to our Supercharged Club dates, which I will just encourage you. We're going to be relaunching our Supercharged Club in April and May coming up. And depending on when you're listening to this video, and of course, the Supercharged CEO is going to be more limited access. So you might be saying, why should I be joining? What is the benefit to me? Well, the whole idea is clarity, gaining tools, insights that allow you to make better decisions for yourself in your business, whether you're starting it, growing it, or whatever stage you are. Or especially if you're an aspiring entrepreneur and have no idea what the journey ahead is. Many times people jump into business, they really get quite blindsided by what's ahead of them because they don't know what to expect. They don't know what the day-to-day vagaries of entrepreneurship can be, and so they can lose a lot of time, lose a lot of energy being caught up in those things, when if they were kind of forewarned, then they would be forearmed. Hence my really strong belief in encouraging people to know that once you keep your mindset clear, and a lot of my talks here in Momentum Monday and also in the Supercharged Club is really focusing on the mindset, the mentality of an entrepreneurial mindset. What does that mean? It means many times you have all kinds of thoughts in your own head that no one told you, but you just tend to believe them or tend to think them or tend to process them, and that allows you to overthink. And so if you don't have a strategy to manage that thought process, it can sometimes get the better of you, take your time, take your energy away from the things you should be focusing on. So the goal of creating these online membership communities is to help and encourage entrepreneurs along that journey so that they focus on their purpose, the process, and their profit. Those are the three key things that I emphasize through this, and through these Momentum Mondays as well. It's to reinforce those thoughts. Okay, so these are the types of things I want you to think about and remember. So when you read good books and you distill information and you look about ways to apply it to your own self and your own life, it allows your thought process to be clearer, minimize the overthinking, and just put a time limit on it. That's another tip I would give you, is if you tend to fall victim or prey to the process of overthinking, put a stopwatch, get a timer and say, okay, I have this much time to make a decision. And whatever the decision is within this space of time, that's it, and we're going to run with it. Because if we don't, we will not have a reason, a rationale to go one way or the other. So this is one of the things that helps us do this. So those are some of the thoughts I want to share. I look forward to your thinking about this. What are your thoughts about what I've shared today? And I also want to let you know I have a new award I want to show you guys. It's called, wow, it's heavy. It's called the Trailblazing Woman of Excellence. I'm so excited to receive this beautiful award from the WIMBY Women Mean Business International 15th conference that was held recently in Miami. I am so excited to have been presented this by the M. Gill Her Foundation and M. Gill and Associates. And it has me as a trailblazing woman of excellence for Women History Month. So I'm very excited and very thankful to receive this beautiful award. Amen. Yes. Okay, let me put it back. It is quite sturdy. So I appreciate that. And awards, they're nice reminders. They kind of encourage you to keep going forward, to keep doing your best, to keep putting your best foot forward in all things that you're doing, and not overthink. Just go and do what you need to do. When you have clarity, you have clear goals, you understand why you're doing what you're doing. You don't have to think too hard about that because you've already put the thinking in. You've put it in already. Yes. And I'm going to end with this. I have this email that I need to write. For example, it's a very important email. It's a very timely email, and I will just leave it there. And in this email, my inclination was to go on a quite extensive dossier on the different points that I thought were necessary to elucidate. However, I chose, through some wise counsel, not to do that, and instead reduced that email to one sentence. One literal sentence with a comma and a period, and made it one sentence with the subject, noun, and the verb. Okay? I was a little overthinking, decided that less was indeed more, and that everything that I needed to say could be distilled into that one sentence. That is what I encourage you to do. You can still make your point, you can still cover the bases, but can you do it in one sentence? Yes, that is what I encourage you all to do. Okay, and with that, I look forward to seeing you next time on Momentum Monday, Supercharged with Emily, regardless of the day of the week that you catch this or end up showing up on your feed. And the topic for next time will be one that I feel is critical for entrepreneurs. And I've spoken about it in the past, and I want to speak about it again. And that's mental health for entrepreneurs. Mental health for entrepreneurs. What does that truly, truly mean? And what can you do about it? What can you do about it? What can you do about it? And I'm also going to be starting a series dedicated to some of the initial steps of when you're starting your business, some of the basic thought processes involved, again, to minimize overthinking. And I'm going to weave that in with the mental health process, because I don't think they're separate. I think they're very much connected, because one of the reasons people tend to have their mental health gets messed up sometimes is because of this overthinking process. Then on top of that comes the complications of running a business and the challenges of running a business. And then on top of that, not having a clear path which way to go. And when you have that conflagration, you're going to have a bit of a stressor. And again, my goal is to make life a little easier for you by addressing this. So stay tuned for this series coming up. You don't want to miss it. Set your alarm. Make sure you subscribe. Don't miss the chance to supercharge with me because it's always very valuable to gain these insights. So definitely don't forget to do that. This is the screen you want to look at. And then from there, I encourage you to also make sure that you get your newsletter, sign up, emilymchugh.com/free gift. And of course, if you haven't picked up your little girl's guide to entrepreneurship by now, today would be a great time for you to do that. The foundation for the Supercharged clubs, and so much more coming your way in the future. So until then, stay tuned. Yes, there's a lot of excitement coming ahead. I know. Thank you for your patience, but it is coming. It's starting sooner than you think. Actually, it has already begun. So I'll see you next time. Stay supercharged and see ya.